Hey, welcome to The Explainer. You know that cup of coffee you're probably holding right now? Well, its story has never been more dramatic. Today, we are diving deep into the wild reasons your daily brew costs so much and what it all means for the future of coffee as we know it. It really is the big question, isn't it? You feel it at the cafe, you see it in the grocery store aisle, and no, you are not imagining it. The price of coffee has hit some pretty staggering new heights. But this is way more than just simple inflation. So what is really going on? Okay, let's start with this number. $4.01. In February 2025, the futures price for a pound of Arabica coffee beans soared past $4. Now that's not your latte price, that's the raw price on the global market. It's a benchmark that sends absolute shockwaves through the entire industry. This isn't just a little price bump, it's a record-shattering surge. And to put that in really human terms, just look at Brazil, the absolute powerhouse of coffee production. A single kilogram of coffee there can now cost more than what a worker on minimum wage makes in an entire day. Just think about that for a second. The very people growing the world's coffee are finding it hard to even afford it themselves. That's how you know this crisis is getting serious on the ground. So what's causing all this? Well, it's not just one single thing. It's more like a perfect storm, a whole mess of factors all brewing at once, across the globe, hitting everything from the farms to the shipping ports, all the way to the stock market. So let's break this perfect storm down. We've got four main culprits. First up, you've got just extreme, totally unpredictable weather hammering the world's most important coffee regions. Then there's the ongoing chaos in global supply chains, which makes just getting the beans from the farm to your cup way harder and more expensive. Third, Wall Street has definitely noticed, and speculative investors are pouring cash into coffee, betting that the prices are going to go even higher. And finally, you've got shifting currency values just adding another layer of chaos to the mix. Let's zero in on that weather piece, right on the ground in Brazil. Farmers there actually have a word for what's happening: chumbinho. It describes the coffee cherries literally falling off the branch way too early. It's a sign the plant is just giving up under incredible stress. And in 2024, because of intense drought and heat, chumbinho got way worse, and it was just devastating for the harvest. It's a very real, tangible sign of a changing climate. And this is not just a Brazil problem. Nope. Halfway across the world in Vietnam, a giant in producing Robusta coffee, they got hit with a severe drought of their own, causing their output to drop by 20%. So you've got the world's #1 Arabica producer and a top Robusta producer getting slammed by extreme weather at the exact same time. It's a double whammy that's squeezing the global supply from both ends. And right on top of all that bad weather, you've got market speculation. As soon as the news of bad harvests got out, big investment funds saw an opportunity. They started dramatically increasing their bets that prices would just keep climbing. Their buy positions for Robusta shot up by 25%, and for Arabica, they jumped almost 5%. This flood of money, it acts like an accelerant, just pouring gasoline on an already raging fire. All right, so we've got this storm of bad weather and market madness. Now, let's look at the consequences. We're seeing this global ripple effect that's creating some really unexpected winners and losers, and it's forcing the giants of the industry to rethink, well, everything. In any crisis, there are always these shifts in power. So while Brazil's production is expected to hit a 3-year low, its neighbor, Colombia, is seizing the opportunity. Thanks to some really good weather, their production surged by a massive 23.3% in 2024. You can literally see the global coffee map being redrawn in real time as some countries rise while others struggle. And this instability doesn't just stay on the farm. It's hitting the big brands we see every single day. Take Starbucks. This number here, -6%, that's the drop in their customer visits in the last quarter. It's a huge signal that even a global giant like Starbucks isn't immune when prices get this high and people's habits start to change. And all of this pressure is forcing some really drastic reactions. Starbucks, for instance, is making changes that go way beyond what's on the menu. They're testing things like in-store panic buttons, they're ending their famous open door policy for people who don't buy anything, and they're talking with their employee union again. But at the same time, they're bringing back handwritten messages on cups, which feels like a clear attempt to rebuild that personal connection with customers who are feeling the pinch. Okay, so the whole industry is in turmoil. How do we fix this? It's fascinating, actually. The coffee world seems to be going down two very different paths to find a solution. One is all about science and tech, and the other is about adventure and rediscovery. So path number one is this huge scientific approach. You can see it in projects like Calanthe.
Their strategy is super methodical. They're bringing in advanced pruning tech to make plants healthier. They're scientifically developing and handing out new types of coffee that can handle heat and drought. And they're doing research to make small farms more stable and profitable. It's basically about building a better, tougher coffee plant from the ground up. Now, this second path could not be more different. It's way more romantic, almost artistic. It's embodied by people like Yoshiaki Kawashima, a Japanese coffee hunter. And this quote really says it all. For him, coffee beans aren't just a commodity. They're unique individuals, they're actresses, and it's his job to discover their personality. And this kind of approach leads to some incredible things. Kawashima recently found a type of coffee on a remote Caribbean island that everyone thought had been extinct for over 140 years. So this path isn't about engineering new beans in a lab. It's about searching the globe for these rare, forgotten treasures that might just hold the key to coffee's survival. So we've seen the gnarly problems and these really ambitious solutions. But how does this all come back to that cup in your hand? What does all this mean for your daily coffee ritual? All right, let's just quickly recap the big takeaways here. First, climate change isn't some far-off idea. It is here and it is hitting coffee harvests right now. Second, the financial markets are making a bad situation even worse by pouring fuel on the fire. Third, this intense pressure is forcing the entire industry, from the biggest corporations to the smallest farmers, to innovate or risk getting left behind. And finally, who grows our coffee and where they grow it is changing before our very eyes. And all of this leaves us with one last, pretty important question. For most of our lives, coffee has been this affordable, daily thing for billions of people. But as this perfect storm keeps raging, you have to wonder, are we heading for a future where that simple cup of coffee becomes a daily luxury? It's definitely something to think about over your next brew. Thanks for watching The Explainer.